Back at the Woody Hayes Athletic Center on Tuesday for Ryan Day and Jim Knowles' pre-Penn State press conferences. Huge game this week. Biggest game in college football this week, and the Buckeyes are getting ready for it. Not a real injury update, I would say, from Ryan Day today. It was a very blanket. Hopefully we'll have everybody back. Well, of course, hopefully you'll have everybody back. Tells us basically nothing. I would not read into a whole lot what the odds are of any of these guys being ready. So that's the running backs, Trevion Henderson, Mayan Williams, Jim Trainum, wide receiver, Emeka Egbuka, and let's talk about Denzel Burke. So he leaves the game Saturday against Purdue with looked like an upper body injury, kind of some friendly fire contact maybe on a tackle, goes to the locker room, doesn't come back. We don't know what his status is, but it did give us some insight. The way that they played that game and the way Jim Knowles talked today gave us some insight into what might be coming next at that position if they have to go there.
I think Jermaine Matthews is going to play if Denzel Burke isn't healthy in that game. I asked him about what we talked about on the pod on Monday. Get Buckeye Talk wherever you find podcast at. When initially Denzel Burke came out of the game, Jermaine Matthews just replaced him, and they kept Davis and Igbinosun on the side he was on. And then throughout the game, they changed it and put Davis and Igbinosun on the boundary side, and they played Jordan Hancock field side. I think the initial decision is something they didn't want to do long term because it's a true freshman you're putting out there in a situation in a road game. But a week of preparation, if Denzel Burke can't go, I asked about what you want in a boundary cornerback in this system. He said Jermaine Matthews has moxie, which is just an old guy way of saying Jermaine Matthews is a dog. Denzel Burke is you got to be a dog to play boundary corner in Jim Knowles' system, and I think Jermaine Matthews might be one. So if Denzel Burke can't go, I think we're going to see a similar situation to what we saw last year, where Jair Brown, as a true freshman, had to step in against Wisconsin. We might see that for Jermaine Matthews.
So far, this is not a Penn State offense that feels like it's going to threaten you vertically and threaten you with big plays. They're one of the worst teams in the country as far as creating explosive plays. I guess the caveat to that is if you put guys who aren't ready on the field, then it opens the door for that. But I don't think that applies to Jermaine Matthews, because I asked Jim Knowles, what did you see about him? At what point did you see, this is a guy who might be able to contribute this year if he has to? And he said it was basically as soon as he showed up back in the winter that you got that vibe from him. Moxie. He said moxie like 8 times today. It was like the most times anybody said moxie in the English language in 1.5 hour period in maybe ever. Like literally maybe ever. And said that he was seeing it back in the and we've seen that before, right? The guys who show up and make that first real impression are guys who tend to be doing things again on the field in the fall. And he's already had a pick 6 this year, and it's important to see little things like being the special teams player of the week. Like, they really buy into those sorts of things carrying over to when you actually then go out and play your position. And it shows that he's a guy who is ready to, step up and make plays. So I think Ohio State hopes they don't need an extended look at Jermaine Matthews, only because of how much Denzel Burke contributes to this defense and how important he is to this defense. And don't forget, part of the reason Denzel Burke has been so good this year has not just been coverage stuff. He's obviously been better in coverage, but he's been a real presence in the run. Like, he steps up and hits and plays confidently against the run in a way that he wasn't always doing last season. It's one of the other ways that he has really kind of turned his back on what was a very up and down 2022, partially because of injuries. So if he's able to play through this injury and still contribute, I think that makes Ohio State's defense the best version of itself for Saturday. But just something to keep in mind that it may be a big day for Jermaine Matthews if they find out he can't go. We're going to talk about this a lot more on Buckeye Talk and get the text 614-350-3315 as we find out potentially about injury things, whether that's before Saturday or whether that's Saturday morning before the game. That's where we're going to send it first from cleveland.com.